All right, here we are to talk about Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Me and Superfan Tonya recently just finished listening to it on audiobook.
It was real good.
Real good. And we brought Derek in because although he hasn't read it, A, he's a host on the podcast, but B, he's read a lot of other Sanderson.
And I'm here.
Yeah. So, we were just going to talk about it. I think it's safe to say that we both loved this book.
Yeah, it was great. This was my first Sanderson book, and I loved it.
It is my 1, 2, 5, 6, 7th Sanderson book. Because I've read the first 3 Mistborn, I've read 2 of the Stormlight Archive, and I've read Elantris. Mm-hmm. And this is the best of his that I've read, I think. It is a very tight, well-told story. Mm-hmm. Real good world building. And just all around good. Like, the magic system is...
Awesome.
Well, that's what Sanderson... You haven't read Sanderson, but that's what he does. Is he built, like... Every book of his that you read that's sci-fi or fantasy mm-hmm. is going to have a one-of-a-kind, really awesome, well-thought-out magic system.
Yeah, this was super cool.
Now, this is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't read it, you probably don't need to listen to this. And Derek said he was cool hearing spoilers.
Yeah.
But...
I'm a little burned out on the Sanderson right now. So,
yeah. The first thing I want to address is my only problem. Well, all right, correction. Now that I'm done with it, I had 2 problems with this book. 1, the way that he kept mentioning the Didinier statues. Yeah. It was abundantly obvious that he was going to do something with them, and because of the nature of this magic, to me, it was clear that they were... for Derek's benefit and other people who are not going to read this book and are just listening to this because they love us, how the magic system works is every person has a breath. It's called a biochromatic breath. And you can give your breath away to somebody. But if you do, you're what's known as a drab. Like, you just can't see color as well. Like, colors are not as, like, sharp and as brilliant and...
you're just dull.
You're a little dull, like, and if you have it, you can kind of sense other people that have it. All right. Well, people sell their breath because it's worth a shit ton of money, and there are what they call heightenings, and there's 10 heightenings. The first heightening, which I think is if you get 50 breaths, you get perfect. You can immediately sense how much breath other people have. If you get to the second heightening, you get perfect pitch. If you get to the third heightening, you get the ability to perfectly determine hue, like different colors. And just on from that. Like, none of this magic is really directly offensive, but what you can do is what they call awakening, which is you take some of your breath and you force it into an item temporarily with a command. So, like, you can have rope, like have a length of rope and be like, grab things. And you also have to envision it in your mind what you want it to be doing, and that takes practice and yada yada yada. But then you throw the rope, or like, grab things when thrown. And when you throw the rope, whatever you throw it at, it'll fucking twist up and grab. Alright. Well, so there's all sorts of shit you can do with this. Of magic systems, it's perhaps the most hindered of all the magic systems I've read, maybe. Still really interesting, but every fucking scene where they're walking around the city, he mentions a Didinier statue, and they're all over the city, and they're statues of warriors. Mm-hmm. And the whole point of this book is trying to stop a war, and people are trying to start a war and coming in. It's just like he spelled that move out fucking way too soon.
I didn't pick up on that. I mean, we listened to the same audiobook, but
Yeah.
I didn't hear those parts the same way you heard them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, I knew there were statues everywhere, but I didn't immediately go, oh, well, they're going to become soldiers in the end.
It's part of the curse of being an author.
Well, no, and it was also, like, very clearly stated that, like, you can't awaken stone unless you're, like, 10th heightening, because...
Which the God King is.
The God King is, but he didn't have a tongue. And so until the twist happened where he got healed where he could speak, what the fuck's the point?
Yeah.
So...
Well, my thing, I never thought that he'd get his tongue back. I thought that they would just figure out how to get his breaths out of him.
Yeah.
Because you can give your breaths away, but you have to be able to say...
Very clearly,
yo bro,
enunciate
take
clearly
these breaths.
what you want.
And
they cut his tongue out.
They cut his tongue. The God King, he's the only person to ever hit the 10th heightening because he's got like 50,000 breaths.
It's just been passed down.
Yeah, it's passed down. And so, but like, you know that there's a way to get the breaths from him, but you don't know how. And no one in the book knows how. I mean, there's these priests must know a way.
Yeah, they do, because they were gonna. They were gonna tell her.
But like from you as you're reading it, you're like, well, the priests have to know a way to do this.
Yeah.
But you don't. You don't learn. Well, you kind of learn at the very end. Vasher says like, oh well, yeah, you can train them to transmit it, but it takes some time. Anyway, but yeah. So that was, to me, that was just a. But that was one of the earlier books he wrote that got published. Yeah. So to me, I doubt, if he was writing that book again, I doubt he would have done it the same way. I doubt he would have mentioned those statues that much. Here's my bigger problem with the book. And I say this and saying that this is still a really good fucking book. Mm-hmm. But it seems like every character, he took them and was like, okay, Vivenna, she is the character that is perfectly trained for this situation.
Right.
And she gets into it and shits the bed.
Mm-hmm.
The younger sister has not been trained whatsoever. She gets into the situation and excels. Every person is set up like, oh, well, person is like Denth. Denth is great. He's awesome. He's funny. He's witty. He's smart. Da-da-da-da. Turns out he's the bad guy. The guy who you thought the whole book is the bad guy because he's an asshole is the good guy.
Dr. Cox.
Yeah, everyone in there, like the God King, is supposed to be this super terrifying, awe-inspiring, evil God King. Turns out he's basically a child. Like he's never been able to speak. He can't speak. He cannot write. He cannot read.
They've kept him isolated.
No one's allowed to talk to him.
How old is he?
He's a grown.
He's
20.
Once you have this much breath, you basically quit aging.
Yeah. He's been the God King for like 50 years.
Yeah, he's been the God King for 50 years, so he's probably at least 50. Well, he's obviously at least 50, but he's not going to be much more than 50 because he inherited the throne when he was one-ish. But yeah, like the only person he can ever remember like being nice to him was his mom, and she disappeared when he was like 8. But like he's supposed to be, and like with the first like 5-6 scenes you see with the God Kings in there, he is terrifying. He's creepy, but basically what it is like every character in this book is
the opposite.
Ends up being the exact opposite of what you expect.
Yeah.
And while that is cool in smaller like every book, you like having a character or two that's like that, like you expect this but you get this. It's cool. But in this book,
it was
literally every character except for Blue Fingers. He didn't end up being
he was initially
opposite.
an ally.
Right,
sorts.
he does seem like he starts out seeming like an ally and does end up being a bad guy.
I would say the only one who's not is the slut goddess, whose name I can't remember.
Oh, because she's the whole time going on this, I really thought the whole book like, no, dude, she's actually evil. She's part of this plot, yada yada yada. And then boom. she ended up being just as good as Light Song was. You know, like she was actually like legitimately like the whole book. Every action she takes, like it's weird because you see Light Song, one of the main viewpoint characters. He's constantly talking about Blushweaver. Like, no, I see that she's a good person. You know, she's a good person. But every move she takes is fucking stereotypical bad
Cersei
guy
shit.
Yeah, like every step she takes. And
she's like consolidating armies.
It's blatantly obvious that she has fooled Light Song. But you keep like, well, Light Song, no, she's good. Yeah. And it turns out that, yes,
he was right,
you know? And it's like,
she got played.
Yeah, she got played, kind of deal. And like the bad guys tricked her, kind of deal. And it's just like every step, like every character was like that, except for, I would say, Bluefingers, because although he did seem to start out as an ally, there was at least good hints dropped early on. Like in retrospect, Sanderson did a good job of dropping hints that, hey, he's more than he seems. Because there's a cool scene where Light Song is like, well, maybe I should start getting involved in these politics. Like, you know, like all this political wrangling's going on. Maybe I'm a god, and all these other gods are doing political wrangling. Maybe I should get involved. And he asks his head priest, like, who do you reckon I should talk to? And he's like, well, I mean, the expert on politics is Bluefingers. And then, like, you never see Bluefingers actually do any sort of political wrangling. Like, he's supposed to be the expert on political wrangling, but you never actually see it.
He's kind of just like paper pushing is what it kind of seems like.
Yeah. But then you come to, like, to the point, like, that was said. It was very clearly said. He's an expert at political wrangling.
And multiple times they say things are not what they seem in this.
And then, like, you never see him. So you kind of start to forget. Like, you forget, like, oh, he's supposed to be this political expert. And then, spoiler, he was politically wrangling like a motherfucker in the background, but you just never, it all happens off screen. So really solid, but it was just the way that every character seemed to be built to completely turn themselves on end. Like even like fucking, what was the fat guy? Tonk Fa. Funny, friendly, awesome, fat, jovial guy is a sociopath who tortures animals. Yeah.
But he used dark humor the whole time, so it's kind of like...
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But.
Derek stepped out to go throw some things away right as I was about to bring him in. Something wrong. But, yeah. Real fucking good.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Was definitely worth the... I think I got this when Audible was running a special.
Yeah, that's what I did. It was like $5.95 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, great. Derek, having read a lot of the Cosmere books, for those who don't know, all Sanderson, not all, but 95% of Sanderson's fantasy stuff is interconnected in what's known as the Cosmere. Hoyd shows up.
Oh!
Yeah. So, Hoyd is a character that shows up in like every one of the books in like a minor cameo. In Warbreaker,
except in the... Never mind.
Now I'm told he shows up in everything, but sometimes he's disguised.
You know, he's more prevalent in the Wave Kings and Words of Radiance.
Yeah.
He's actually, I don't know how, because I know he's only in a scene.
He's only in one scene in Warbreaker, but it's a cool scene. It's a really cool scene.
What scene is it?
So, the instigating thing of all this is there are functionally two kingdoms, and one of them is contractually obligated through treaty to give one of their daughters to marry the God King.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happens, and instead of sending the daughter they were supposed to send, the daughter that had been trained to do this from birth,
the eldest
daughter, in a bit of just utter fuckery.
Yeah, that was kind of shit.
Yeah, and and there are no repercussions for it.
No.
But like, basically, the dad loves his oldest daughter more and so refuses to send her.
Yeah.
But plays it off as like, no, I've got my reasons, you know.
It's better for our country if Vivenna stays here.
Yeah, like completely plays it
I
off.
love both my daughters, but Ciri needs to go to the God King.
Yeah, and tricks and like actually like convinces Vivenna that that's the case, and Ciri actually ends up believing that the dad did the dad had good reasons for this. Like, oh no, she's right. Like, he was right. Yeah, Vivenna would not have been good for this. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But really, it's straight up. He loved Vivenna, and Ciri kept pissing him off.
Yeah.
So he sends Ciri.
Yeah, because she was, like, mouthy little rebel.
Yeah.
Kid, so he's like, fuck it.
Yeah, it sends her. But anyway.
Because he assumes that whatever daughter he sends is going to get killed. Yeah. And Vivenna is more valuable.
They know that war is going to break out, and so he has every bit of confidence that whatever daughter he sends will end up getting killed.
Because like, fuck it.
He sends the one he likes less.
Why, if it's going to lead to, why didn't you just not send one and go?
Well, because that guarantees war. If you send,
he's also trying to buy time to build up,
because they have to get an heir. Because this whole thing is like legitimizing the throne of the God King, and so they have to have these noble blood coming through.
Yeah.
Okay. The royal locks.
Yes.
Somehow that's the returned in their bloodline.
Yes.
The returned can't breed.
That's what they think. That's obviously not true. But it's made clear that like people lie to the returned all the time. Like the returned don't really know shit about themselves.
That's true. That's true because they die and they come back and they don't know anything.
Vasher's the expert, and Vasher's like, oh yeah, no, you can totally have kids.
Oh.
But no. So anyway, so the Hoyd scene.
Uh-huh.
So Bluefingers, who thinks an ally, is like basically like, look, Ciri, you need to investigate what happens every time one of the God Kings has a kid. You need to investigate. Now, what's actually happening is whenever the God King has an heir, that God King retires. That transfers the breath and retires. But no one knows that. Only the highest priesthood knows that the God King retires. Ciri thinks that they're killed. So she thinks her husband's going to get fucking murdered if she has a kid. And Bluefinger knows. Yeah. So, but he's setting her up. Well, she cannot find any record of what happened. So, and she goes to try and read some records, and it's like kind of like shoved away. Like, oh no, you can't read these. These are private. Yada yada yada. So she calls in a storyteller.
Oh,
she gets Light Song to call in a storyteller.
Because she doesn't trust the priest to tell her the truth. She's like, I'll get Light Song to call, and then maybe I'll get some truth.
Yeah. So Hoyd shows up as a storyteller. And it's so cool because he's telling the story, and he keeps reaching into pockets. Like, every time, like, he's telling the next scene, he reaches into his pocket and pours out, like here's crushed bone, here's black sand, here's
bits
gold
of
dust,
and shit.
bits of metal, like he's constantly pulling from all these pockets, all these different colors and stuff like that to like help tell the story. It's really cool. But he tells like basically here's the
story
history
he told with the smoke for Kaladin.
It's like here's the story of the God Kings kind of deal. It was real cool.
Yeah.
It was real cool.
I didn't realize that he was a character.
He's a guy that interweaves throughout all the books.
Yeah.
This is my first Sanderson. I had no idea, but I really enjoyed that scene.
It's one of those deals like the Cosmere. You don't have to understand anything about it to appreciate any of the books, but they are all interconnected.
Same universe thing.
Same adjoining universes kind of deal.
Okay.
Like it's an actual star system out here. And there was basically 20 shards, 18 shards.
There's a lot of
them. There's all these different kind of paired shards, like creation and destruction and whatnot. And different shards have landed on different planets pretty much, and they influence that planet. Like Mistborn, it's the shards of it's creation and destruction, right?
It's not called that, but
it's roughly that.
Renewal and Oblivion,
decay. Something like. But and so these shards influence the magic of that world. Like the source of these magics tends to be these shards, and these shards are scattered across, so they're all connected through that. And there's some overarching storyline going on in the background, but what it is,
I have no fucking clue what it is. But
Hoyd's involved.
He just kind of jumps in. He's a universe traveler because he'll talk up first of all, because he's in all the fucking books.
Yeah.
and they have they ain't on the same world.
Right.
And he just kind of shows up and will talk about things that they're like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
I think I could really get into doing deep dives on the Cosmere. Yeah. I think I like Sanderson's writing. I liked everything I've read. I liked Mistborn's writing. There's nothing wrong with the writing or anything like that. I just hated the setting.
I have a complicated relationship.
I think I would really like the new books. The one thing, and so here's the number one critique I've seen of Sanderson, is he does, what do they call it, avalanching or whatnot? In this book, it's fucking rife in this book. The story just kind of plods along at first, and then it all fucking...
Once it takes off, it's holy shit.
And it's but it's real. It's pretty near the end, then it's you've got every plot trying to.
The last hour is just holy shit. What the fuck?
You have 3 different plot lines all trying to resolve themselves at once.
Yeah.
No, Warbreaker. It's really there's no parts where you're just going to get bored with it. There's some really amazing twists throughout, but it's the most avalanche of his books that I've read. It just fucking at the end, just well, shit. I've written about 500 pages. What do you reckon we just wrap this up in the next 30? It's
yeah.
I have a very specific issue with him.
Yeah.
First of all, his writing's real. I don't like this. There's no flower to it, which is what he does. In his lectures, he specifies that's what he shoots for, and I get that for the majority of the time. But sometimes you gotta add something to it, and on occasion he will. But for the most part, it's uninspired. It's workmanlike.
I'll say this. That shows pretty poorly in this book because. Much of this book is about color. Yeah. There were so many opportunities that he could have just went to town, and he did a little bit at times, but he really could have more. The most he ever really does is the God King has if you have breath in you, within an aura around you, all colors are brighter around you, and his is so powerful that the color white, if it's around him, actually refracts out into rainbows.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's... And he talks about, oh, well, this room was, the whole room was really red and yada, yada, yada. But he didn't really... It's mostly just the colors seemed brighter for the most part.
Yeah,
it wasn't very flowery, and this was, of all the books, this is the book to go fucking...
Yeah. But even
their economy is based on dye.
Yeah. Even in this situation, I understand that it's a choice, and it is a thing that some people enjoy more and some people enjoy less. And I realize that I prefer a bit more flowery writing.
Yeah.
So that's not really a big deal to me. The problem is when he's writing, he does too good of a job at things a lot of people don't do at all. And what I mean by that is there's... Chekhov's gun?
Yeah.
You see it at the beginning.
He Chekhov the fuck out of the Denier statue's gun.
Whatever, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when there's progressions of character or there's scenes that show a character changing over time or something like that, you want to show them at the beginning of that change, the middle of that change, the result of that change, and then how it affects them kind of thing.
He shows them at 1.25.
Exactly.
Yes. That was real bad with Vivenna. Ciri kind of...
And that's a thing that happens in all his books. That is legitimately the thing. That is why I just figured this out with the most recent book, is why I don't like him as much as I used to. Because that happens too much. Because I understand what you're doing. I understand
tiny baby changes and
I know
it was painful with Vivenna.
But see, the thing, I understand what he's doing is good. Is what you're supposed to do. He just does it. He adds if there's 6 scenes of a character changing over time, he should have done 4.
Yeah.
Instead of 6.
Oh, that's definitely how it was with Vivenna.
Because then there's those 2 scenes that they haven't changed enough to be noticeably different.
Yeah.
And it's just... and they're still doing things that you don't want them to do.
Yeah.
So then it makes you not like the character.
Yeah.
She was the most unlikable character, and like Siri changed pretty quickly.
Well, Siri had the benefit of not really having an expectation going into it.
True.
She just kind of had to get over the whole prejudice of, ooh, the God King, and once she realized it wasn't that big deal,
he's a big old teddy bear.
Oh, cool, no bigs.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she was fast and loose anyway, like, didn't give a shit about authority and rules. So, I mean...
Yeah. And, like, Lightsong, to a degree, Lightsong, he definitely fought against his destiny a lot. Like, he kind of, like, fought against his destiny. Like, he's a god who doesn't believe in gods, so he kind of had that whole dynamic going, which is a little annoying, but he was just such a likable, cool character that you forgave him. But Venna was basically, think of, like, your stereotypical, like, Puritan, you know, like, school marm, spinster school marm, like, just, oh my god, you know, what are the children? Like,
gotta have my long sleeves and my turtleneck sweater.
Yeah, gotta have, you know, like, super modesty, and just like she was amped to 11 on the religion, on their religion, which is very. Yeah. I thought it very, very annoying. But she has to break out of that because she's in a city where no one gives a fuck about your fucking religion, and your religion's getting in the way. So. Yeah. And like it's extreme heresy in their religion to have other people's breaths. Like, you get the breath you're born with, and that's it. She gets to the city within, like, 3 hours of being in the city. Someone crams, like, 500 breaths into her.
Yeah, on his deathbed.
Yeah, on his deathbed.
So she's like, has this existential crisis.
Yeah, and she's like, well, it's like, oh, well, I'll just give them away. And they're like, that's not a thing. You can't give away, like, 499 breaths. You either give all the breaths or none.
And she's like, well, I can't not have my breath.
Yeah, because she would not have a soul then.
Yeah, no, that sucks for her.
Yeah, and so then it's like her basically having to overcome being uptight.
Yeah,
and it takes 39 scenes of that approximately out of a 60 chapter book. It's
39 scenes, and it should have been like 10.
Yeah.
I enjoyed reading a book that had some female protagonists that weren't whiny shits.
Yes.
I mean, even for Venna, for all of her wrangling, like, I mean, she had some growth to do where, you know, she had to break, because she spent her whole life training, and they built up all of these internal resources for her so she could survive in this strange country. Well, they were counterproductive, and so she's having to break a life's work of training. Yeah. And so, it took some time, but I thoroughly enjoyed having just knowing, I mean, you know the books that I was reading. I've been reading... God. I've been trying to branch out, I know. And they've had a lot of female protagonists that are just whiny cunts, and I just can't take it.
Sanderson does pretty good with his
And so this was great. Like,
Siri is awesome.
Was awesome. And, like, she was a little timid at first, kind of a new place, and then she's kind of leaning on the people she's told to lean on, and then, like...
She pretty quickly, though, is like, nah, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my own thing.
She's cool, and then she finally just, like, gets that backbone and starts telling people what to do, and it's great. Yeah. And even Vivenna, once she became homeless, she was real cool. Like, she got humbled and was great. Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciated reading about non-whiny. Even Jules. She was a minor character, but she wasn't whiny.
Yep. One of my favorite characters in why do I keep forgetting the name of the series? Stormlight Archive is a female character who I can't say much more about because at some point I hope that you would read those books. Okay. But her name is Yasna Colin, and she's awesome.
How do you feel about reading really long series of books?
I have a lot of books to read. It's going to have to be very compelling for me to dig into something longer than a trilogy.
Wheel of Time.
Oh no, that's like 27 books.
14.
I'm out.
14 books.
I'm out.
But
I have so many other books I want to read.
Hear me out. It's looking like it could, in theory, be the next Game of Thrones.
They're making it.
Yeah, Amazon is sinking a ton of money into making a Wheel of.
I don't know if this
series.
is a selling point. However, if you want to have conversations with Derek, that's one surefire way of doing it.
No, we will have conversations about it.
I had
you might like it more than there, but there are a lot of
they don't whine.
It's known for having strong female characters.
Yeah.
Now I hate them all, and I wish they would catch fire. Not because they're strong female characters, but because they're fucking annoying how they do it.
Okay.
And I hate them all.
So.
Vivian's pretty cool.
I'm gonna change. I was kind of hoping that they would take Vivenna's friend and turn him into a lifeless. Because he's got all them skills. I was kind of hoping that she would...
I want to call him Padraig, but it's not Padraig.
Yeah.
It's something with a P.
Yeah.
Paddington.
Pollock or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, because she hooks up with Vasher, and he could have told her how to just give a breath away.
Oh, she would never have done that, though.
He's so skilled and shit. Like,
but, no. The best scene in this book. Oh, it was fucking glorious. So...
You're probably going to pick the wrong scene.
No.
Yeah, because I know what the best scene is, and I don't think it's what he's about to say.
Tell me what it is after this.
Vivenna decides, oh my god, they sent my sister into this. She's not prepared. I'm going to go save her. So she goes into the city. Well, to do that, she gets basically... So she was always supposed to marry the God King, but if she hadn't, she was supposed to marry the son of their highest general.
Oh.
And, like, they'd been virtually betrothed. Like, they were betrothed, except they couldn't be betrothed, right?
Yeah.
And so she gets him to help her get to the city. He's in love with the woods. He's like a woodsman. He guards the borders. He's like your typical ranger guy. He's not really a people person.
This was a good scene.
And so, they get into the city, and he starts, like, adapting. Like, he doesn't view it like, oh, I'm becoming like them. It's like, well, I gotta blend in.
Yeah.
Like hunters, man. I gotta blend in.
So he gets like
this like stupid hat kind of deal, but everyone's wearing them, and so and she's always like, he looks so stupid, and like the people that she's hired, like, I don't know, he looks like he fits in, like.
And she's meanwhile running around like, this is a hot place, like temperature wise, and she's running
in
like
a jungle. It's in the middle of a jungle,
neck to fucking ankle in modesty clothing.
They have to special order her foreign clothes to wear, which costs a shit ton of money, and she sticks out like a sore fucking thumb because of it, because it's 100 fucking degrees and the humidity is fucking ball sweat.
Yeah.
And so
it's Alabama, and she's wearing turtlenecks.
Yeah. But so she hires these 3 mercenaries. It's 2 guys and a woman, and so we're just going to call this guy Padraig. Padraig is flirting with the girl mercenary. And you can tell Vivenna's a little jealous about it. And finally, she, like, basically confronts him. Like, what the fuck? Like, he's like, you've always treated me like I'm dumb. Like, she's like, well, we would practically be married, It's like, yeah, but you don't like me. Like, you've never
You don't laugh at my jokes.
You don't laugh at my jokes. You've never, ever shown me any sort of warmth. Like, why would you think... Like, why would you think that? And, like, this female mercenary is a righteous fucking bitch.
She is. She's grouchy.
But super grouchy. But she's like, but she laughs at my jokes, I mean, she at least does that. You've never done anything like that. And he just fucking turns and strolls. Like, not mean about it, but he's genuinely befuddled. He's like, why would you think that? Like, you've never been nice to me. Like, you've always just kind of treated me as like a servant. Like, why? I'm going to go over and flirt with her some more.
Yep.
And just, Vivenna's just like,
What?
It was fucking glorious.
It was great.
The best scene in that book.
What's the actual best scene?
Okay, so the actual best scene is, so a priest's daughter gets kidnapped. Because it's like leverage. Because this priest is like standing in front of the committee and he's saying like, no war, it's bad, we don't need to do this.
He's like the last major priest arguing against war.
Yeah. So the like powers that be like kidnap his kid and using it as blackmail to make him change his voice on the floor. And so Vasher, who is fucking badass, but you think he's the bad guy, but he's not. So he and Vivenna are like crawling through these tunnels and shit, and they find a den of just some thugs, and in this little thing there's like a cage with the priest's daughter, and they're like, alright, we're gonna get her out. Well, Vasher has this sword that they have put...
It's an intelligent
soul in. They have awakened a sword with sentience.
It took 1,000 breaths.
Yeah. And so there's this... I loved the sword, honestly.
Oh,
Probably my favorite character.
So the sword was created with it's like command. Destroy evil. The thing is, it's a fucking sword with the mind basically of a child, and it has no concept of
what evil is.
Yeah.
So it's just whoever destroy the thing.
Whoever holding
the wielder is determines what evil is.
Kinda.
So it just wants to destroy the things.
Yes.
Basically.
That
so
sounds great.
Like you
it's amazing.
Get this
it's
thing.
Funny.
He's like, why don't you pull me out? We could just kill him. Why don't you just kill him? I could just kill them. Let's kill them. Let's kill them right now.
Dude, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Why?
It's so great.
It's constantly like shit talking. Like it's like, oh, you're terrible at sneaking. Like why do you keep trying to sneak places? You're awful at sneaking.
Yeah.
Just pull me and let's kill them so you won't have to sneak.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, I loved the sword. So basically, like the way the sword works is like it draws your life out. So if you only have one breath, it kills you while you're killing your friend. So very effective. But Vasher has so much breath that he can wield the sword. He just opts not to because he's actually not a bad guy. But he gets so pissed seeing this girl in the cage. Like, normally he just, like...
Does it take, like, a breath every time you kill a person?
No. It will just siphon that shit indiscriminately.
When he eventually, for real, pulls the sword, he has this big, utter fucking meltdown at the end of the book.
Yeah.
And he pulls the sword, and it's basically, like, it starts out, like, maybe, like, every 10 seconds, it just leeches one of his breaths.
But the more you have the more it takes.
The more it draws, like, quick... And, like, he gets to the point where, like... If he'd held it, he throws it away because if he'd held it for like maybe even 10 more seconds, it'd have killed him.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great though. He's just like normally he just like clicks the little handle and tosses the sword and lets the people kill themselves.
Because if they're bad people, they will feel compelled. They'll want the sword.
Yeah.
It's like Vivenna, for all her bitchy snootiness, is actually a really good person. So if she gets around the sword,
it makes her vomit.
It makes her sick.
Yeah.
Because she's a good person.
Yeah.
But like people who are like bad. They want the sword.
They fight over it. They kill each other.
Yeah, there's like 5 different scenes where he just throws the sword and walks away, goes handles his business, come back, and everyone's dead.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So like they're in this tunnel. He sees this girl in a cage. He just becomes so angry. He wields this shit, and like Vivenna's looking at him like, I've been traveling with this bitch the whole time. She's like, he looks like larger and just wild, and she has to like, hey,
focus.
Hey, come back, and he finally like, no, she says something like, I can't get it open, like can't get the cage open, and that's when he finally is like, oh what? Yeah. Oh, let me put this thing away.
You know why he looked bigger, right?
No,
because he was bigger. He's returned.
Oh yeah,
He lost control. And so he returned. All are like 7-foot gods, and so
he consciously shrinks himself down.
He is one of these.
What you look like.
Yeah, returned can choose what they look like. Just most returned don't know that, and so they look how they think they should look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, so like, just like her description of him standing there, just like bodies everywhere, just like. Seething anger, but like this righteous anger kind of thing. Yeah. Like, it was great. And the sword's like, we gotta kill things.
Yeah.
You should do this more often.
Oh!
What now?
You need to read the 3rd book of the
Wakings or Stormlight.
Yeah, because I think one of those swords exists in.
It could.
It's a sentient sword that is talking to him, and like.
Oh, I loved Nightblood.
It's very similar to what you're describing.
They throw it in the water, and it, like, calls across town to Vivenna. It's like, Vivenna, come get me. Hey.
It's constantly like, why aren't we killing this thing?
Yes.
We should be killing this thing right now.
Yeah.
It actually, like, there's a guy whose job is, like, he fishes at night, but he sometimes dumps bodies. And so this sword has been dumped in the river so no one will use it. Lures this guy over.
Put your net right here.
Put your net here. And the guy just thinks it's like the gods talking to him, and he just fucking nets up, and then like ends up killing a bunch of people, and finally like Vivenna shows up. Oh hey, Vivenna. Yeah, here.
Great. Thanks.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like when he finally gets back to Vasher, he's like, "So I came to rescue you. You should tell me thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
I wonder if it
is. Does it show up in the second book? Do you
I can't remember
anything like this.
I can't remember.
How does the second book end? Is it the first book that ends with? Or is that the second? No, that's the second book. Oh, so you don't even know. The person who has this sword, if I'm remembering correctly, is the assassin in white.
Oh, I wonder if that's Vasher.
Because Vasher is a god in this.
No. But there's another. We'll talk about it off there because I don't want all my misinformation to be, because I can't remember exactly.
But no, so Sanderson has said like Warbreaker is standalone, and a lot of people like sequel because it's great, and it actually like the end of the book leads you to think that they're going
like trundling off to the sunset, and
because
we're going to go do some shit.
Like 300 years ago, there were these people called the Five Scholars, and you find out and account for 4 of them over the course of this book, and at the end of it, Vasher is going after the 5th one. It's like, so I heard that the 5th scholar showed up, and it's like,
all right, well,
starting to be a tyrant over here. I'm going to go fucking wreck his shit.
Yeah, and
that's how it ends. But apparently, Sanderson said he has an idea. If he's going to write one, it's going to be a prequel, and it's going to be called Nightblade. Isn't that what the sword's name was?
Nightblood.
Nightblood. It's going to be called Nightblood. So, leading me to think the sword's going to be a even bigger part, which would be great.
Yeah,
probably about the creation of the sword. If I had to think how.
Yeah, because they like poured all these breaths in, and it's like really the way it sounded to me is like someone only of the God King's power could awaken something.
Well, it took 1,000. They said it took 1,000 breaths.
Yeah. To
awaken an item like that.
Yeah, with sentience.
And that's
a lot of breaths.
That's a outrageous amount of breaths. Yeah. Like the God King has 50,000.
Yeah. But they've been accumulating.
But they've been accumulating over 300 years at a rate of like 3 or 4
500 weeks. Shoved in her is a lot.
It takes.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah,
like she like convulsed and shit on the floor.
That took her to the 3rd heightening, I think. Second heightening, I think.
I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a lot. Like
so.
That was what I was curious about. Was if that was a lot. Right?
It was like to. It doesn't like specifically say, but like to awaken your cloak to protect you. That's probably like 100 breaths to do something like that, if not more, depending on how the cloak is shaped.
I like how. You know, we don't get this till the end, but Vasher was both the starter of the war and the ender of the war because, and his thing was, the stories make it sound like there's 2 people who did this. Like, this is the person who started, and this whole other person came in to end it because people can't reconcile that people can change their minds and they can realize, oh no, we don't need to do this anymore. And he's like, no, I mean it was the same person. It was me. You can call me, Kalad. Yeah, you can call me Kalad and be like the bad guy. Then you can also call me Peacegiver, but it's literally just me.
And final spoiler, you finally find out why the book is named Warbreaker, and it's because Vasher is returned, and all the returned have names. It's never said how they get their names specifically. Like Lightsong jokes about it, how they get it, but it's never actually said. But Vasher, his name is Warbreaker, and so he goes around stopping wars now, basically. And he's like, he talks about like how he doesn't know. Is like, is my name prophetic, or do I do this because of my name? Like he doesn't really know.
I love how the God King like fucking just
fucking
hulked out.
The God King gets his tongue and starts using 50,000 fucking breaths,
dude,
and shit gets fucking real.
It was awesome. Because like I enjoyed how Ciri and Sisebron, the God King, like they were shoved together, like, get married.
Yeah.
But then they actually kind of develop an actual relationship. Like a believable, to an extent, like actual caring for each other.
It was definitely one of the best portrayals of people falling in love that I've read in a book.
Yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't just like, oh, he's my husband, but no, like, they actually form a bond.
Seems like he's pretty good at that.
Yeah, well, so, like, she's about to be sacrificed on an altar as a ploy to further this war, and this bitch, like, comes in. He's got every bit of fabric in, like, a 17-mile radius, like, snaking around him. He just starts snatching people's up, like, whoa!
Yeah.
And because everything is white, because, like, he's so powerful, he can leech all the color.
Yeah, when you awaken something, you have to use some color of something. Yeah. And when they do, like, if, let's say we were awakeners, if I were to, like, animate this cord to, like, tackle, like, I would put my hand on this tablecloth and I would suck some of the color from it, and it'd be gray. But he is so powerful, he sucks even the gray out, and all that's left is white.
Yeah.
And then because he's fucking
so powerful, the white turns like rainbow shit. Oh, it was so good.
It was amazing.
It was so good because I just imagine him just like coming in with like this cloud of rainbow shit and just like, leave my wife alone.
One of the things that Sanderson is best at is these over-the-top anime-style fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's kind of...
definitely was with the God King.
Yeah, the God King, and when Vasher fucking finally pulls Nightblood for real.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the... like, it just...
He does those real well.
He does those real well.
Because, like, Sisebron's not even having to speak with his tongue. Like, he knows the things. He's just, like, commanding this stuff. Oh, so good. Yeah. It was so good. That was real great.
That's probably my favorite thing that he does.
Yeah. It's real good.
Because it's very RR.
Yeah.
Super enjoyable. You should definitely read this book. Listen to this book. The narrator was really good.
It was really good. Really good.
Some lady.
Favorite voice that she did.
Was it Kate Redding?
Tonk Foz?
Yes.
I think.
Yes. She did the voice of this fat guy.
It's so good.
It's so good.
He's a big dude, but I was thinking him more of just like, he's a little slow. I just don't think he's got all his crayons.
Wow, that was really insensitive.
Because we're talking about colors.
Get out.
Get out. All right. I think we've covered all that needs to be covered. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Yeah, I think I've said all I need to say. Real good.
It's super great.
I'll have to try it sometime.
Yeah. Get the audiobook. Give it like a year so you can get everything we just said. And yeah, it'll be good. So, all right. Well, hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope you'll go out and give Warbreaker a try. Get the audiobook. It's real good, and I'm sure the book is just equally as good as well.
Yep.